Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us for another session, another debrief here with GMAT Club, always bringing you the best content in master programs, in the GMAT, how to apply, how to be successful in this journey. So if you like our content, please don't forget liking this video and subscribing the channel. That helps us a lot to keep producing all of these great videos and all of the content that you can find in the website for all of you. So today we have here with us, first of all, me, that you already know, Fernando, the moderator for this session, second year student here at the MBA at UVA Darden. And we have with us Nimisha, who is an LBS, London Business School, Masters in Management admit. Thank you so much for joining us, Nimisha. How are you?
Hi, Fernando. I'm doing great. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Sure, absolutely. It's actually our pleasure. I can guarantee you that. And so today, the goal of the session is that we touch on some of the points that made this journey of yours so successful. So you all watching it, stay tuned because we're gonna touch briefly in some points of Nimisha's journeys as her professional journey, pre-masters, her GMAT application journey, her school application, also all the experience that she had so far, and finally her post master's goals. So, if you would like to start, Nimisha, by telling us a little bit more about yourself, I know that's going to sound like a very MBA interview question. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, walk us through your resume, but that's not the goal. So, if you could just like introduce yourself to everyone watching us here and watching, please feel free to send any questions.
Hey, everyone. So I'm Nimisha. And so I have an undergraduate degree in engineering, and I come from a tech background. Right now, I'm working as an analyst at KPMG in the digital automation sector. So, during the second year of engineering, I discovered that my real passion lay in finance, which is what led me to transition into a role that is more oriented towards finance. I wasn't sure about my post MBA goals until I completed engineering and I joined KPMG, which is when I decided to focus on the microfinance sector and work in a microfinance organization, eventually start my own organization. So my plans include entrepreneurship and working in microfinance. Other than that, I think what prompted me or what inspired me to apply for LBS is the quality of the MIM program, the curriculum, how it's renowned worldwide. So, yeah, that's a bit about me and what motivated me to apply for the course. And I would love to get into more detail as we progress.
Nice, amazing. Thank you so much for the intro. And you mentioned Nimisha. So going into the first topic we're going to talk about, which is your pre-master's professional journey. So you mentioned that right now you work as an analyst at KPMG, and that the goal for you to work with microfinance directly made you apply to apply to the LBS MIM program. So could you tell us a little bit more about this pre-master's journey of yours? How many years have you been working, and what kind of experience particularly you think that drove this desire for you to say, no, now is the right moment for me to go and get this next step at my career?
Okay. So unlike most MIM admits, I have a work ex of 15 months, I think 15, 16 months till date. And by the time I join the program, it'll be more than 2 years. So as of now, I think I have 1.5 years of experience working in KPMG as an analyst. And what prompted me to switch careers is the realization that I would do much better in a management role that is oriented towards finance and working with many. So I throughout my journey at KPMG, I've worked with multiple clients, major banking clients. So that led me to steer away from traditional banks, and I really wanted to focus on this sector, microfinance, because I realized it's immense potential, especially in um, underdeveloped countries like my own, and like certain countries like my own. Like India is a developing nation, and the impact that it can make and how much unlocked potential it has really drove me to pursue that as a career. And I think initially my plan was to pursue an MBA, but since most prestigious business schools abroad require around 4 to 8 years of work experience on an average, I did not want to wait anymore. I wanted to make the transition as soon as I can, get started on my dream career as soon as I possibly could. So that's when I came across the MIM program, which is well suited for freshers and professionals with very less work experience. And the London Business School program is excellent for people oriented towards finance, because a lot of the courses and the electives are focused on finance, emerging markets, global economy, etc. So, which is why I decided to make the transition right now.
Nice, absolutely love it. And so you mentioned you come from India, is that right, Nimisha? And
Yeah,
do you
that's
speak Hindi?
no. I come from South India, so my mother tongue is
Okay.
Malayalam. I come from Kerala.
No, I'm glad, because otherwise I would start showing off the few words in Hindi that I know. Abhijit here from GMAT Club know that I always want to show off my Hindi skills, so it's better that way. And you were
I know
sorry,
as
sorry.
much Hindi as you do, probably. My Hindi is not
Uh,
really good too, because in South India we don't speak Hindi. So I'm
got
sure
it.
you can impress me with your Hindi in this case.
No, I always say that all words that people that my Indian friends told me here at business school, like 80% probably are curse words and 20% are like how to introduce myself properly and stuff. So
I would
that's
say
about
that's
it.
the thing Indians do very commonly. So
Right. I mean, I'm glad that at least they told me the real meaning of the words so I wouldn't say them mistakenly when in India. And something that I wanted to ask you, Nimisha, so you mentioned about working with microfinance, and indeed, I'm from Brazil, so being from an underdeveloped country, indeed, that's huge for us. And would you say that coming into the program, the master's program, your goal is mainly to like develop this knowledge so you can later on go into this more entrepreneurial side, or would you like to invest also in networking? What's your focus going into the program now in these next few months?
right. So are you asking me what I plan to do once I join the program, or what I'm going to do in the few months before the start of the program? I didn't get the question.
Yeah, actually, it would be during, but it would be great if you could touch upon what you're going to do beforehand as well.
Okay, so let's start with before the program. I really wanted to get acquainted with the economies of different countries, because the LBS student community is known for its diversity. There are people from all parts of the world, and you're going to be interacting with and socializing with people from every part of the world. So you need to know what you're talking about. You need to know where they're coming from. So, for instance, if I talk to you and you talk to me about Brazil's economy, I should really know what's happening there. So, I think that's a very important part of networking. And once I joined the program, the one of the main reasons I chose LBS was because of its alumni network. It's spread out, it's huge, it's very supportive, and the doors that it can open are many. So once I joined the program, the first thing I want to do is, there's a very impressive club at LBS called the Social Impact Club, which does a lot of these social entrepreneurship work, and they host conferences. So I plan to be a part of that, hopefully on the executive committee, work for social impact causes, and I really want to get to know the people in the field. And another thing that LBS has is the immersion week, where you get to work with actual organizations that are focused on social entrepreneurship. So I plan to do that too, and basically network, so that there are many internship opportunities offered by companies like Grameen Bank, Finca, etc. And being a part of the LBS community will automatically give you access, or at least help you gain access to these internships, which will in turn give me a clear picture of how this microfinance sector really works. Because this is a very confusing sector, where there's a lot of exploitation, there's a lot of gray area, and it's essential that you really understand how things are to be done properly, so that it benefits not only us but the all the people that you're serving to. So I think that's my short-term plan. I hope to join a firm that focuses on microfinance and eventually come back to my home country and start something of my own.
That sounds amazing. And about the networking piece that you just mentioned, we pretty frequently we have here around Darden speakers come during classes and during regular events. And I would say that the advice that pops up the most is exactly one that you talked about. That is, don't underestimate the power of your network, because indeed, I think that coming from Brazil and India, we were not, maybe, I don't know about you, but I wasn't so used to this networking piece. I've been so strongly present, but around here, the US, around like around Europe, it's really, really important. So do you think that's something you will have to adapt to, or it was something you were expecting already and that will be like relatively easy to go into these networking calls, reaching out to people, and really keeping up to this networking work that we have to do?
So the good thing was I've been a part of multiple societies all throughout my undergraduate journey, societies like IEEE. So networking came very easily to me because I always loved talking to people in my field, in my domain. One of the things that helped my application the most was networking, because the moment I decided to apply, I remember sending emails to all the student ambassadors listed on the LBS website. I just sent emails. I think I sent around 20, 30 emails, and I think 4 or 5 people were really helpful. They held Zoom calls with me. They helped me through the application process, talked to me in detail about all the clubs. So that's how powerful networking can be. I think they refined my application for me. They told me exactly what the school is looking for and why I would be a perfect fit for the school. So networking has always come easy for me, and hopefully that will continue throughout my journey.
Amazing. I'm sure it will. And so going to the next step on this journey of yours, Nimisha, and everyone, please feel free to keep sending questions. I see yours, Anam, about the GMAT. We are going to present that later on when talking about the GMAT, so don't worry. And it's right now, actually, the GMAT journey that Nimisha had. So you managed, Nimisha, to get a 730 GMAT score within only 2 months of preparation. I won't tell you how long it took me to prepare for the GMAT, never mind. But how would you say that you managed to achieve such a high score in the test in such a small time frame?
So I would say I attribute a large part of that to my undergraduate degree. It was highly oriented towards math. So math quant wasn't really an issue for me. And also I was preparing for the Indian entrance exam, which is known to be extremely tough. It's called the CAT. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called CAT. And I was preparing for CAT for the past 1 year. So that preparation really helped me crack GMAT, because GMAT is a easier but faster version of CAT. That's what I understood. It's more, it's hard to get really high scores in GMAT, but the foundation that I got from my CAT coaching helped me master the basics. So then the only thing I had to do in those 2 months was get acquainted with the question paper pattern. And I would repeat this over and over again to anyone who asks. The key to mastering GMAT is practicing mock tests. I think for 1 month, I took a mock test every day. And on holidays, I took 2 or 3 mock tests. So that develops speed, line of thinking. You kind of understand how they're going to set the question papers. You see where you can score, where you can't. So I think that going ahead with the proper planning, that's what helped me get a score within 2 months.
Perfect. And one very interesting question that we got here from the audience from Anand is, where mainly did you do your GMAT preparation from?
Right. So I had joined a local coaching institute called. So I joined a local coaching institute for GMAT prep. But I would say more than that, what helped me was the resources from GMAT Club. So that's how I got to know about GMAT Club. This is not an ad because it's a GMAT Club interview. I genuinely came across GMAT Club from some site. I think either Reddit or Quora. Someone had mentioned that there's this site called GMAT Club, and I got a lot of free mock tests. There were pointers on how to write the AWA essay, and there were a lot of students who were with me for the GMAT prep. So we used to have forums. We used to discuss what's going on, where each person is lacking, what each person has to do better. So I think GMAT Club helped, and then a lot of practice. I think you get free mock tests, and there are some mock tests that I've paid for too. That sorry, excuse me for that. Yeah, there are some mock tests.
No,
That
no
mock tests
worries.
I've paid for too.
No worries.
You can buy the mock test from the GMAT official site also. Those mocks, even though they are slightly pricey, they are really good. They give you a proper analysis of your performance. So I think that's what helped me. I would say if you're going for GMAT without any background, do try a local coaching institute or something to help you get the basics, but then try to purchase the official GMAT mocks and get tons of practice.
And did you struggle, Nimisha, to choose among the regular GMAT, GMAT Focus, GRE, EA, or no, because you already had this CAT base, so you felt pretty safe about the GMAT itself?
So, math has been one of my favorite subjects. As my hobby, I also, I use throughout my undergraduate journey, I've been a math tutor. So, quant wasn't really an issue for me. And as for verbal, in the beginning, I faced some trouble with verbal reasoning, but with practice, I was okay with that too. Then the problem was the AWA part and the IR part. But thankfully, those parts are not included in the total score. So that didn't bother me much. I wasn't that concerned. I just wanted a decent score. So I would say I did not face much trouble with GMAT, and it was pretty easy for me.
Later on, I will have to send you a message for you to be my math tutor. I definitely need someone like that. Because being a lawyer from training, I mean, that's not my greatest skill. And so you mentioned the importance, Nimisha, of really taking mock tests throughout your preparation to be able to develop this mental stamina, the skills needed for the test. And how did you balance that with your work journey? So, how would be a day of yours when you were preparing for the GMAT?
So thankfully, due to COVID, I didn't have to go to office every day. I had a very flexible work schedule, and I used to work from home for most days of the week. So I used to try and complete my work between 9 to 5 on most days, and then I used to give the rest of the time to doing mock tests. Or I mean, there were days where I didn't get proper sleep because of the work schedule, but I would say it's doable. If not a mock test every day, I think you can take one mock test every 2 days. And one thing that helped was my coaching institute gave me a lot of mock tests, and I could take a break in between those mock tests and do the rest of the test the next day. So I didn't necessarily have to sit and do the entire 3.5 hour mock test a day. Sometimes I would just divide if I didn't have the time. But keeping that aside, I think the last 1 month was very hectic, and I was very strained at the end of it. So I was just glad, just got the score, I'm done with it. I was happy.
And would you say that due to this skill that you already had in the quant part, you focused more on developing your verbal skills? Or no, you actually got it all like in one package and studied it all at the same pace and in the same amount, basically?
Okay, so I definitely put more effort into verbal because that's the part that I was really scared about. I think three things that helped me master verbal was one, I read a lot. And I listened to, so I went on Spotify and I started listening to a lot of English podcasts when I'm walking, when I'm working out. So hearing those podcasts really help you get an idea about how grammar is used and how certain cases you have to change the tense and all of that. And then a lot of practice. So one thing I did was I went back to the basics. I went back to sixth and I think seventh grade English grammar textbooks where they teach you about tenses, right? There are 12 tenses, I think. I mean, it really messed with my brain at that time. But I went back to the basics. So that's a tip I got from somebody who got admitted into LBS. I asked him, how do you master verbal? And he's like, just go back to school. Go back to school, take those books. Those books are your best reference to master verbal. I think I followed that, and yeah, his advice was pretty good.
And we just answered TK's question here about how did you go about preparing for verbal. And indeed, that makes so much sense because mainly being people who don't have English as their primary language, I think that sometimes we end up neglecting the power of these, like you said, even seventh grade books that contain all the rules that you should follow and that help a lot. And before we go into our next session here about your program itself, Nimisha, any other piece of advice or anything you would like to touch upon regarding your GMAT journey?
I think I covered all the points. I just have one more thing to emphasize about verbal. I would just say the only way to master a language is to start talking in it. So just talk to your friends in English. I think because I think you would get that. Me coming from India, I almost never talk in English to my friends or my family members. But I think talking to people, and I started talking to my friends in English, started talking to I mean basically to everyone in English, and that'll really help you. And not kidding, watching English movies really help too, and you can get entertainment plus you can study. So reading, listening, and watching English medium. Okay, I think there's a
Eh,
question we
oh,
have
yeah,
about
let me put
CR.
it here. How about from TK as well? So, how about CR, NRC? Any advice, any study material you'd recommend that you used yourself?
Yeah, so there are official books by the GMAT. The GMAT official prep books. They are not soft. They are like you have to go out and buy the books. They're physical books. You don't get them online, I think. Those books are really good because they have a lot of passages. They have a lot of questions that previously appeared for the GMAT exam. And I would say it's very safe to say that for the GMAT, around 90% of the questions are questions that are from that book. They just change the type of passage, but there's only so many passages you can make. I mean, there's only so many things you can ask, especially in verbal. So that official book by the GMAT, that is very helpful too. You can try that. That material was really good.
Perfect. And something that you mentioned, Nimisha, about really going out there to speak a new language. I was even reading one book these past few days. The name is Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. Great book. And this is not an ad as well. It's indeed a great book. And in one part of the book, he says exactly that the issue that many people end up having when learning a new language or something new is that we feel that we can only throw ourselves out there when we are already like really good at that. And this just hinders our development and our better learning. So I couldn't agree more with the factor like just throw yourself out there, begin trying. And I still remember right when I got here that I had in my mind, oh my God, no one is going to understand me. Then I'm going to be like talking to myself and people are just going to ignore me. So all that crosses, I think, everyone's mind, right? But it goes away. And the best part of all is that you really have to put yourself out there to learn properly. So the next part that we have here for your journey to touch upon, and just a quick reminder, please everyone, feel free to send questions, and remember, liking the video and subscribing to the channel, it helps us a lot. So the third point that we have here for today is your motivation for the Masters in Management program and why you chose LBS. So we briefly touched upon that already. So you said, Nimisha, that one of the main factors that took you to apply for the MIM program was that it doesn't demand as much of a work experience as the MBA. So, was there any other factor that made you choose this specific program instead of other masters?
Um, there was I was at first I was really confused between waiting and pursuing an MBA or just going ahead with the MIM program. But then I think there were several points. The main one was that MIM required less work experience. That meant I could get into it as fast as possible. The next one was the MBA programs are mostly designed for professionals who have a background in this. I think if people from a background like mine, I don't think I will be able to catch up with that course as fast as my batchmates who are probably from the same background, finance, management, be it anything. The MIM program is specifically designed for people from all backgrounds, arts, history, tech, uh, anything. So it's for people who have no basics, and the course really helps you get a solid foundation in management, especially finance. So that's why I thought that the MIM program was better suited for me. And out of the colleges offering the MIM program, HEC Paris and London Business School were among the top programs that I personally like. They're also highly ranked. So those two colleges were my obvious suggestions. I was more inclined towards the LBS course because all the courses and the electives that LBS focused on aligned more with my career goals. And I would say why LBS? I could just go on and on about it. Number one, it's located in London, the finance capital. The next thing, the alumni network of LBS, like I talked about, is unparalleled. The third thing was there are people from all parts of the world, and I would love to study in a diverse community because I've always studied in India. My schooling, my undergraduate days, everything were in India. So I would really like the international exposure because I think that's very important, especially for a person with aspirations like mine. And the next thing was all the extracurriculars and supplemental learning options that LBS offers to its students, like the immersion week or the internships. And there are so many. If you go to their website and you just see, you will be impressed with the range of things they offer students. And then, of course, the employment opportunities that LBS opens you up to, because that's important. You need to have an ROI. That's why we are all pursuing a course. And the LBS ROI was impressive, and the growth. The people who graduated, I've talked to them. I saw their growth, what happened to them after they completed their masters, and I was really impressed. So that's why I chose LBS.
Perfect. And a lot of indeed great reasons. And could you mention, Nimisha, so, because I know that many people end up focusing on the MBA. So could you mention a little bit more about the structure of the MIM? For example, how long does it take? Does it have a period for you to go to your summer internship? Does it give you the same visa opportunities as the MBA? So could you just touch a little bit on that, please?
So the MIM program is generally structured as a 12-month program, but LBS offers an extra term. So it depends. HEC and ESCP MIM programs are 2-year programs actually, but the LBS program is a 1-year program. So it varies from school to school. LBS offers two kinds of MIM programs, the normal MIM program and the global MIM. Global MIM would mean the first year would be at the London campus and the second year would be at a campus somewhere else. But I didn't want that, so I chose the normal MIM option. You have the option to pursue an extra term, a fourth term, which will bring the course duration to 15 months. And the course starts in August ends, let's say September, and you do get a break around November. I think after October, you do get a break. You can pursue internships at that time. And as for the visa opportunity, they offer 2-year work visa after the MIM program and 1-year work visa after the other MIM I was talking about, right? The global MIM is a 2-year program. So after that, you get a work visa of 1 year, but the normal course will give you a work visa of 2 years.
Perfect. And I'm learning a lot here because I didn't know about that as well. And would you say that for people who haven't yet considered the MIM program, what would be the first step for them to do so? Go into the school's websites, starting to learn about that. So, what would be the first step for them to start considering that? And what factors do you think should influence the decision MBA versus MIM? Like you said, maybe how many years you have of work experience and factors like that.
I would say anyone considering, you can think about 2 points. First, how much work ex you'd really have. Second, what are your odds? Because if you're aiming for a university like LBS or Harvard or anything, if you're applying to a reputed college, they definitely check your background. So if you think you have the work experience required in, and the work experience is something that they would consider, just having 6 years of work experience which does not matter to or align with their course will not do you any good. So that you have to analyze your own profile. Especially you can go and check the profiles of people who have already got into the program. That's what I did. I went on LinkedIn and I searched the people who got into the LBS program. I checked their history and I could see what a UG course they did, where they worked. So that really helped me estimate my chances of getting into the university. So I think that's what you should do. MIM versus MBA is a very personal choice. The only thing is, after 2 years of work experience, most of these colleges don't accept students with more than 2 years of work experience. So there was a 2 year bar for me, because after this year, I wouldn't be able to apply the next year. So that prompted me to apply this year. That's the only thing.
And one, thank you for the explanation on that. And one big thing that crosses a lot of people's minds is also where to go, not only regarding which school to pick, but also which continent. So, what was the basis, Nimisha, for your decision on, let's say, Europe against the US? So, why did you decide going not only LBS that you mentioned, but for a school in Europe?
So the MIM course was something that originated mainly from colleges or universities in Europe. That degree is only slowly gaining popularity in other continents, especially US or Asia. I mean, all the countries in Asia, it's slowly gaining popularity. But Europe is where it started, and the colleges in Europe have the strongest MIM programs with a good alumni network. They've proved that their programs are good. So rather than going to a new MIM course where I have no idea of what the outcome will be or in what job opportunities I'm going to get, what I'm really going to gain from it, it's much better going into a program that you already know. And it's a thing with MBA and MIM, with management programs, that the ranking of the university is very important for placements or for anything, uh, for any of future. So I shortlisted all the colleges which were renowned for their MIM programs, and most of them were coincidentally from Europe. That's how it happened to be. And I would say I didn't really want to go into SESEP or HEC or a college in France, because I really feel like knowing French is very important there, especially maybe not while you're pursuing the degree, because that's a English friendly campus. But after that, a lot of people I talked to, a lot of people who graduated from those colleges told me that having a good base in French is necessary to work in those countries, and I didn't have that. And London is English speak was I mean English speaking. So that's why I thought LBS would be my first choice, and then I would keep HEC as my backup.
And at the end of the day, you applied only for LBS and AGC. And if so, were you afraid that you were going only for these two schools, and maybe if it didn't work out you wouldn't have a plan B, or you were so sure about them that those were the only ones where you would want to be right now?
I was absolutely not sure, because the adcoms, you never know what the adcoms are looking for. As a matter of fact, I did not even get an interview. HEC didn't even ask me to interview for them, and I was really let down by that. But that really shows that what one set of adcoms are looking for may not be what another set of adcoms are looking for. So I thought during round one, I'll apply to HEC and LBS. And if it doesn't go my way, I'll apply to other schools in round two or round three. So that was my plan, but thankfully I got into a college, so I didn't have to go ahead with that.
And that's actually a great segue into the next part here of our chat, which is your application experience. So, from what I got so far, Nimisha, so you made that decision of applying for a master's program, then you went for the MIM because of the not only the diversity aspect that you mentioned, but also the years of work experience. And then when you decided, you took the GMAT, got the 730 amazing score in 2 months of preparation. And okay, so now you have your decision made. I'm going to apply for an MIM. You have your GMAT score. You have the score that you need. What was the next step that you took?
So the two exams that you need to clear are GMAT and any English test. You can either take TOEFL or IELTS. So once I had those two sorted, then I started working on my application essays, which constitute about more than 50% of your application. So the LBS application essays were really interesting. One of them asked you why you would be an asset to LBS, and the next one asked you why LBS would be an asset to you. So it's a well-rounded set of questions which you had to be really intelligent about. You needed to give the adcoms a reason for taking you, and you needed to make sure that they know that you know that LBS is the right place for you, that you're not applying just for the sake of applying. So the application essays, I worked on them for around, I would say, 5 6 months, because you know the questions beforehand. So that's when talking to past admits really helped. I started scheduling calls with student ambassadors. I went on LinkedIn, found people who graduated. I pestered them to have calls with me, and they were very kind. They gave me inputs. I think if few of them even went through my essays and told me what to correct. And then I also took help from this agency here. They helped me make sure that I had all the documents in place. So I would have to say thank you to them also. So that's what I did after the exams.
And one of the questions that we got here, Nimisha, I don't know how to repeat the user's name, so I will just put it out here. Is which coaching institute you join in India? If you feel comfortable sharing that, of course. Oh, you're on mute.
So for my GMAT preparation, I had joined Time. It's very popular in India for coaching for management courses. I'm pretty sure if he's in India, I mean, he or she is in India, he would have heard about it by now. So yeah, Time has a really good course for GMAT. It really helped me.
Nice, perfect. And so you went into your essays, into developing them. And how long would you say that it took you to go over all of this material of developing the essays, putting them in the application form, and really submitting the application during round one?
Okay, so I remember the number of edited documents I had. I think before the final draft, I had 14 edits made. So my first essay was a mess. I had to refine it again and again and again till I felt like, a person reading this would really get why I should be admitted into this college. I made everyone read it. I think I made all my close friends read it. I made my parents read it. I took all their suggestions. I incorporated the changes which I felt were good. And I would say it took me 5 months, but that was only because I had time on my hands to spend 5 months on it. But if somebody does not have that, I would say 1 month is enough to make your application essays really good, as long as you give it enough time. A common mistake that most applicants make is underestimate these essays. Um, if you have a score of, let's say you have a GMAT score which is extremely high, 760 or 770, um, I don't think that really matters a lot, because GMAT score has very little role to play. I've seen students with me who had GMAT scores below 700, but with excellent application essays and excellent profiles who got admits. So application essays are the key to any college, I would say.
Nice. And we touched on that already, but just to answer to Kishu's question, again, Nimisha, so they having 2 years of experience, if that would be good or bad for the MIM. So from what you said, above 2 years would be a deal breaker. Is that right?
That would be a deal breaker for almost all the colleges I researched about. There might be colleges for whom that's not an issue, but all the major colleges in Europe have a limit of 2 years. So boon or bane, definitely a boon if you have the right work experience, especially if you're from a company, or I would say personally for me, I'm from KPMG, and that had a lot to do with my application. But WorkX doesn't really play a huge role in your MIM application. During the interview process, they rarely ask me questions about my work experience. They focused on my undergraduate degree, why I wanted an MIM, on other aspects of my profile. Because a lot of people who joined with me have no work experience. They are still in college. So I would say it will be a boon for you if you have the right work experience and you can use it to leverage your application. For instance, I used my KPMG experience in my application essays to show how I wanted to transition into finance. It all depends on how you use your experiences. You can use them either way. I mean, you can really make a story out of your experience and show it to the interviewer or the adcoms. That'll help you.
Or a matter of framing. And I love this expression, by the way. I had never heard it. Boon or bane. I'm going to start using it. Uh, And also something really interesting that you said, Nimisha, about the feedback piece was that you showed your essays not only to people from the schools, but also to your family, to your friends, because I think that many times when people are preparing, they think, no, I have to show this only, let's say, to current students, to alumni of those schools. And from what I heard, the feedback you got also from family and friends was very important for you, right? In developing your essays the right way.
That was extremely important because it see, each person has a different perspective about things. So the adcoms, the people reading it might be people from all backgrounds. They might not be like me, they might not think like me. So having a large group of people read your essay and interpret it in different ways. I have had people tell me that my fifth draft was amazing. They asked me to, just this is enough, go submit it. I've also had friends who said, no, I mean, you need to work on it. There's only 50% perfection. And I asked them to ask me questions. I asked them, after reading this essay, what do you think about me as an applicant? What do you think I lack? Do you think you would take me? So whatever they said, they asked me to add, or whatever they asked me to remove from it, I think that really helped me, because you only have so many words. You need to get your idea straight in 500 words. So you need to use those words carefully. I think that really helps.
Nice. That sounds perfect. And it's something that I recognize I should have done in my application journey as well. And as you were saying, so you went on, you wrote your essays down, so you had everything. How did you go, Nimisha, about getting your recommendation letters? Because it's something that many people struggle with due to having maybe to tell your superior that you're applying for a master's program. So how did you go about that?
That's the best thing about the LBS MiM program. They only ask for one letter of recommendation, and it doesn't have to be from your employer. The HEC one also, the letter of recommendation from your employer was optional. I mean, I think I did take one from my manager, and she was extremely helpful, and she was very pleasant about the whole thing. But I do realize there might be managers who wouldn't really like the idea of a person leaving the institute or organization to pursue a degree. And I think the best thing to do for a MIM program is get a letter of recommendation from a professor in your university. That's what I think that's more important for them, because this is a course that focuses on freshers. They need to know what kind of student you were, how you contributed to the student community at your college. So I had my professor help me out with that, and she gave me a glowing letter of recommendation. Um, and I love her for that. So that really helped my application. So I think one thing I would suggest is, rather than going to the highest authority in your college, stop going to your head of department or principal. Go to the professor who knows you the best. The authority really does not matter. They do not care if it's from the principal or from a normal professor. So I went to the professor who knew me the best and who really wanted me to get into the program. She was willing to testify for me. So that's what you should do.
And since we are entering this final part of our chat, Nimisha, actually, since we're entering the final part, you all please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Once again, it helps a lot. And people say it boosts your GMAT score by 50 points. That might or might not be true. I would not take the risk. But for people that, let's say, since we are talking about your application, for people that already have a nice GMAT score that they think is enough, they have selected the schools already, what would you say they should focus on to boost their application? So, like I said, maybe the community aspect of what they do right now or something else?
So these schools are looking for well-rounded candidates. That's for sure. So you have a good GMAT score. Yeah, they know you're good at quant and verbal. They know that you're sharp. That's good. But you also need to show that you are a responsible citizen. You have social responsibility. It's extremely good if you have some experience working with NGOs or any organizations of that sort. If you're working at a firm, you can probably take part in CSR activities of the firm, and you can keep that in your resume or your essays. But the core element of your application essay is your ambition, is your goal. That's what they're really looking for. They need people who are coming there with a specific, well structured goal in mind. I know many people who did not pursue what they had written in their essays. That does not matter. I mean, once you go there, you might take an interest in something else. I might go there and decide that, okay, maybe this is not for me. I want to switch to marketing. That's fine. But as long as you, I mean, until that point, they need to know that you're sure about it. You shouldn't be applying to a MIM program just because you're bored in your current uh, job, or you just want a different track in life. So the application essays really focus on short term goals and long term goals. So if you still haven't figured that out, sit and think what they are and know your goals really well. My interviewer grilled me about all the firms that could offer me employment. He asked me if I know the process to get employed in those firms. It was that thorough. The interview was that thorough. So you need to be 100% sure. You can't bluff, especially for interviews like the LBS one and the HEC one. I don't think you can bluff your way in. You need to be 100% sure. So have a well structured plan. Maybe try to get some internships. If you're not employed, then try to get some internships. Try to take part in some NGO activities, something to boost your profile. And most importantly, get your application essays and LOR sorted, because they play the major role. So if you're finished with your GMAT, then you can safely start working on the essays and talk to people who got in. The student ambassadors are there for that. They're extremely helpful people. They really help me. So just go ahead, email them, go to LinkedIn, search for people, network. That's the best you can do.
Nice. That's really amazing advice, even because I know, at least for the MBA programs, I'm not sure if it's the same for the MIM programs. Many people are not really sure career-wise what they want to do, so they just put their consulting many times. And like you said, for the interview, it ends up being very important. And that's a great segue into this part of our conversation, Nimisha. So for the interviews, how specifically did you prepare? So did you wait until you got the yes, we want to talk to you from LBS to start researching questions and answering them to practice? or no, you were already working on that?
No, I was already working on that because you normally only get a few days or 1 week after they announce the results to prepare. I didn't want to do that. So, I mean, I took the chance because I knew these interview questions would be pretty standard for all MIM programs. So, I just got those on my answers into place. So I wanted my story to come out clear, whatever program it was. And there are some questions which have to be specifically designed for each college. Why LBS? Why the MIM program at LBS? And as far as the questions go, um, the interview is almost always divided into three sections. The first section is why MIM, why MIM over MBA, why this particular college, and um, why choose this particular country. These questions, either all of them or a few of them, are going to be there for sure. That's how the interviewer will start the interview. And this is not just from my experience, this is after talking to multiple people who got in. The next part will be about your CV, your resume. They're going to go through it point by point. So there's no room for bluffing. Let's say you've written about a project which you don't even remember about. They might grill you on that. They might ask you what the project was, what did you do, what was your role in it. So that really depends. And then your short term and long term goals and how well you know them. Like you said, a lot of people write consulting, or just investment banking. But when asked about the nitty gritties of that domain, they wouldn't have proper answers. And that's a big, no. They do not want people like that. That's something everyone told me. Every single person I talked to told me, get your goals straight, be 100% sure. So that's what you can do. I would say just get a Word document, get all these questions and start writing your answers. Practice speaking those answers. Every reply has to be 1 to 2 minutes maximum. So practice what you will say to every possible question that can come at you. I remember I had a huge Word document filled with questions and answers. I took the questions from people who got in. And the specialty of LBS was it was the alumni who were doing the interview. So once I got my interviewer assigned to me, I went on LinkedIn. I searched about him. I dug up a lot of information about him. So he had the same background as me. He was from tech and then he transitioned into finance. So I knew for sure that the transition is going to be there because he's experienced it personally. And he was from India too. So I knew I had things to talk about. So prepare yourself in that way. That's the best thing you can do for these interviews.
And one of the questions that we got about the program, a quick reminder to everyone in the audience, feel free to send as many questions as you would like, from Shitan is there any minimum CGPA requirement at UG degree for the Masters in Management programs?
Yeah, there is a minimum. For many programs, there is a minimum. I do not exactly remember what they were, but if you just go to the website of these colleges and search for eligibility, they'll show you all the eligibility criteria.
Nice, that's perfect. Thank you, Nimisha. And so going through all of this journey, then very happily you got the good news from LBS. And any other piece of advice you would say that you'd like to give people in this specific phase of their application journey once they have their GMAT, something that they really should keep in mind while you're preparing their essays and preparing for the interviews?
One thing I would like to say is this part about bluffing on your essays. I know it is a temptation to write things you're not really sure about because you think that they would read it and then they might not ask you in questions about it. But that's underestimating the adcoms. They are extremely brilliant people who can catch a lie at any point of the interview. Even small things like volunteering, if you bluff about volunteering at college, I had my interviewer go through every single line of my application, every single line of my CV. So do not bluff. I would say try to make a story out of your life. I'm sure everyone can find something or some element in their life to make a proper story out of for your application. For me, it was my motivation to join the microfinance sector. Similarly, for someone else, it could be something. It could be a family business that they want to join. Just you need to tell a story with your application. So I think focus on that. And the next thing is, I've seen people applying for 6, 7 colleges in round one all together. I would say just focus on the colleges that matter the most to you for round one. Give them your everything and keep the other colleges for round two, because having a lot of colleges, multiple application essays, they're just going to mess up the whole process. So you can split your options into round one and round two. That's also going to save you a lot of money, because these you can save up on application fees. You can really apply to only the colleges you want to, and always wait for round two, because most of these colleges don't show any partiality between round one and round two. So you can always do that.
Those are both amazing advice, because one, we know that people, like you said, tend sometimes to bluff in the application, and it can definitely backfire. Instead of making you to be the candidate they want, it can actually get you excluded. And I couldn't agree more with what you said, Nimisha, that every one of us has such a unique story, and this authenticity factor is something that we should definitely work on to highlight in the applications. And the second advice about applying just to some schools, absolutely, mainly coming from countries, let's say, like we mentioned, India, Brazil, where $250, okay, here in the US, it's a lot of money already. But in our countries, it's much more. So saving this extra cash in the application journey, which is expensive, helps a lot. And one final question, Nimisha, here in our chat. So where should we expect to see you next? Of course, at Bureau Market in London, because they have amazing food. But besides that, what should we expect to be your next steps?
So like I had already mentioned, currently I'm getting acquainted with the global economy and finance, not just in my country, but every country. And then I plan to join LBS as an internship. I plan to take, there's an internship which is offered by Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, where you can go on site and you can see their operations and take part in their operations. You just need an LOR from your university, which I'm hoping I'll get from London Business School. And I plan to do that during my internship period, and later start applying to organizations focused on microfinance, basically Finca, Grameen Foundation, etc. Work as a financial analyst for a few years, really get my get all the knowledge I can, and then I would really want to return back to my home country and start working on something here on my own. Hopefully I'll have people who join me in my journey who are passionate about the same thing. That's one of the best things about LBS. You're going to meet people who are like you, and I hope to find business partners. Fingers crossed.
Well, thank you so much, Nimisha. That sounds amazing. And I wish you a lot of success, even more success than you are already having in this journey. If I can ever be helpful in anything, please feel free to reach out. You, everyone in the audience, it's always a pleasure to help. Thank you so much for your time, for all your great advice, and it was really a pleasure to getting to meet you.
I had an absolutely amazing time. Thank you so much, Fernando.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
No, it's actually good night here. It's 10 p.m.
Okay, perfect. Over here is still good morning. So good night for you. Once
Good
again,
morning
good
to you.
morning, good afternoon, and good night for everyone watching us. Thank you so much once again. Bye.